I would say in answer to that Jared Goff is kind of what he is, and I think we all know what he is. I think he's a programmed quarterback who is very system-based. And again, most quarterbacks are. That is not a pejorative negative statement, but he is really like that. So when the system works, and McVay has a phenomenal system, and he can drop back and be comfortable in the pocket, and he gets what he expects coverage-wise, which comes from coaching and play calling, then he looks really good because he throws the ball really well. When he doesn't get that, for whatever reason, it could be coverage-based. The Niners did some great things in coverage this week. And Jimmy Ward, by the way, is a really overlooked player in the Niners defense, but they did some really good things in coverage. When he gets pressure where he's not comfortable in the pocket, then his efficiency drops. He's not going to become a different player, Colin. This is who he is. So he becomes very much a function of the scheme.
I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because I don't really care about awards. I'd give him my MVP. And I don't think he's as good as Mahomes, but I think he's more valuable to his team. So Matt LaFleur comes in, and I thought Matt LaFleur was very good in the first half last year, but young coaches often aren't great after intermission. That's where the Belichicks and Pete Carrolls are. This year, I think Green Bay's done a better job, although they've had some clunkers in the second half, of making adjustments at half. But I will say this. This year, this is the second year with Matt LaFleur. Last year, you could argue, well, he's no better than he was with Mike McCarthy, so it wasn't about Matt LaFleur. This year, Aaron looks much more comfortable to me.
Yeah.
What are you seeing with him and LaFleur? That's just what it looks like for me. The body language is mostly better. Why is he so comfortable?
And you're 100% right, Colin. And think of this. What are we not seeing as much this year with Rodgers that we've become used to seeing? Him running around and leaving the pocket. We're seeing way less of that. This offense now, this pass game, is a very desirable combination of being highly schemed, where they win with the route concepts, but also Rodgers being very aggressive when he sees one-on-ones. Because when he sees one-on-ones, whether it's on the outside or whether it's, let's say, in the slot, if it's man coverage, he's going to throw that ball. But yet, they're also very schemed, and you see a lot of plays where the design, the concept wins. The touchdown we're seeing right here to Robert Tonyan is a great example of that. So this is now a really good mix. I know people like to say, well, for whatever it means, that, Rodgers has bought in. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know what's in Aaron Rodgers' head. I can only tell you that the film shows that this offense is really well schemed, but yet Rodgers will be willing to turn it loose anytime he sees those one-on-ones.
So now I want to go to Brady on this, because I said this week, we looked at his numbers, 28 TDs, 11 picks, 94 passer rating, 65 data, blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, considering Evans was hurt early, so was Chris Godwin. O.J. Howard leaves. Fournette came right before the season. New coach, new system. I'm like, maybe we're being ridiculous here. He leads the NFL, I believe, in completions. Only Mahomes, only a few of the stars have more yards. And I'm like, are we overanalyzing this? Is Brady actually having a pretty darn good year? Like, what does the film say?
Well, it's a different offense. He's very used to an offense that's very rhythmic-based in terms of quick game type throws. 3-step drops, bang play action, 5-step drops, ball comes out. This is a little throwing the ball 40, 50 yards down the field. So what that means, Colin, is it means you're in the pocket for just a bit longer. Think of it this way, and the audience will be able to appreciate this. 3-step timing is 1.5 seconds, the ball's out. 5-step timing is 2.1 seconds. 7-step timing is 2.6 seconds. So when you start getting into more of the 5-step and the 7-step timing, you're just in the pocket longer. And that changes the timing, and it changes your mental clock. So there's more of those deeper kinds of throws in this offense. And the offensive line has been a little bit of an up and down struggle this year, and he's been under a little more duress because the ball doesn't necessarily come out as quick within the structure of this style of offense. So while he's not had a bad year, there's been more what we would call negative plays that we're not used to seeing when he was in New England.
I want to talk about the Steelers. Obviously, in the NFL, Seattle and the New York Giants, I think, are better today than week 2. I think the Bears and the Niners and the Steelers are worse than week 2 or 3. Teams ebb and flow, right? Some of it with Pittsburgh is now Bud Dupree's now out for the year. Devin Bush is out. 2 really, really high-end linebackers out. And I watched them last night, but I want to talk about the running game specifically. You would have never wanted Big Ben at this point in his career to throw 51 times against RG3 in a MASH unit in Baltimore. They can't. By
choice. They didn't have to do that. That was by choice.
So let me ask you, is their run game, why can't the Steelers, they have a very good offensive line. You can't crowd the box because Ben will beat you deep. They have good receivers.
Right.
What is up with their running game? What is it?
Well, by choice, they're having Ben drop back an awful lot, Colin. Earlier in the season, there was a 3 or 4 week stretch where James Conner, and I know he's on the COVID list and hopefully he gets back okay, but there was a 3 or 4 week stretch where James Conner was very effective. He was averaging 17, 18 carries a game. Their run game looked pretty solid. Then he had a couple of games where it wasn't that good, and then it seems like they've totally abandoned it. I mean, look, what's sustainable and what's not sustainable is always open to debate with smart, reasonable people. To me, you don't want Ben Roethlisberger dropping back by choice 45, 50 times in a game.
Yes.
Now, a lot of their pass game is very quick game now and short. They do take their shots, but they try to get the ball out of Ben's hands pretty quickly. But I think they're going to need some kind of run game. I don't want to throw out the word balance because that's a cliche and it can mean many different things to many different teams. But I just don't think 50 dropbacks by choice is something you want to do every week.
Finally, our big play. Let's just talk Mahomes.
Good.
Every great quarterback has a unique quality to them. Mahomes has something that I don't think I've ever seen. The back pedal, where he'll take a long, and he'll just keep, because he has so much confidence in his arm, he just keeps backpedaling. He just waits for the receiver to break. It's special to watch, and you saw it. I do wonder if Kansas City sometimes, because they score so brilliantly and quickly, if they're not urgent enough at times with their series. I guess it's a Golden State Warrior problem. When you can score so fast, you can score so fast, you don't always play with urgency. But let's talk a little about Mahomes.
Well, he's pretty good. I mean, we spoke about Rodgers earlier. I mean, I think you can easily make the case that Rodgers and Mahomes are the 2 best throwers in the game, and Mahomes is truly, truly special, and he's just one of those guys. There's really not a whole lot more to say about him, and of course, he's getting better mentally the more he plays, and I think he's one of those guys that really understands how important that part of the game is, and certainly Andy Reid does, but he is just absolutely special as a thrower. And we're seeing him here throw. This was the first touchdown to Tyreek Hill. The play I want to show was actually the second touchdown to Tyreek Hill. And we can end up, and this is it right now. So let's actually take a look at this and we can break it down. So this was the second touchdown that we're talking about to Tyreek Hill. And this was something they do very, very often, and they do very, very well. And what they do here is they line up in what we call a 1-by-3 set. And we call it a 1-by-3, not a 3-by-1, because it's the tight end who's the single receiver to the boundary side of the field opposite the trips. And here what the Bucs show, they show a 2-deep coverage, 2-man coverage, 2 deep safeties, and man-to-man across the board. But they will rotate to cover 1, a single high man coverage with that safety taking the back. What's the matchup here?